It hurts that the regular season is over. The college football playoff rankings are going to come out on Tuesday night. We're going to give you our college football playoff picture rankings as it stands right now. Make sure you're locked in. Make sure you're subscribed right here to the On3 YouTube channel. College football, nothing but college football all year long. Follow me on Instagram and on Twitter at JD PicKell. I want to hear from you all over there. So throughout the course of this year, there's been a lot of disclaimers as to, hey, we're ranking this team here because of this auto bid. Like, for the most part, I think this might be the cleanest rankings we have of any week we've had throughout this point in the regular season. So let's get right to it, man. At number 12, you got Boise State. And throughout the course of the season, I've said, hey, G5 rep, 12th seed, maybe not 12th ranked team. I think Boise State has a really strong case to be the 12th ranked team as it stands right now in all of college football. Curious to see what the Big 12 does and if they end up getting that bye in the first round over a Boise State. Here's the nice thing for Boise State. If they keep on winning, and I got one more game to play here against a ranked UNLV team. If they beat a ranked UNLV, I have to believe that wouldn't sweeten the pot a little bit for the folks in the committee to give Boise State a first-round bye. So welcome to 2024, where the Mountain West champion, Boise State, potentially could have a bye in the first round of the college football playoff. We got them at 12. They'll be the G5 rep for the college football playoff if they beat UNLV. At number 11, the Big 12 rep. And I think right now you can make a case for them being the number 11 team in all college football, depending on how you feel about Alabama, depending on how you feel about South Carolina. I think the 11th seed is probably the best way to say this, would be Arizona State. So Arizona State, man, I got to apologize. I wasn't familiar with your game. I wasn't. Kenny Dillingham has got them fired up in Tempe. You got Cam Scadaboo pounding the rock. I said it last week. I'll say it again. All of us, every single one watching this video, went to high school with a Cam Scadaboo. Dude who's just, put together, maybe not the biggest guy in the world when it comes to his height. Dude loves football, runs hard, runs behind his pads. I promise you Cam Scadaboo was a problem on Friday nights before he was on Saturday afternoons. Arizona State, depending on who they draw in that first round of the college football playoff, if they win the Big 12, and again, based on these rankings, we have them seeded 11th, they would be a team that I think would be a massive problem in the college football playoff if they got the right matchup. Major if there, but Arizona State, frisky, very, very frisky when it comes to the 12-team format. So here's where we're going to get the most pushback, and that's more than fine. At number 10, I have South Carolina. Now, the committee, I don't have enough faith in them that they would put South Carolina at 10, but based on just picking the 12 best teams in college football, which is what we are continually told the college football playoff is supposed to be, South Carolina is one of those teams. Say, JD, but Alabama, the head-to-head, is it harder to unsee a 2-point loss on the road to Alabama in a head-to-head format, or is it harder to unsee Alabama failing to score an offensive touchdown against Oklahoma, a team now that South Carolina ragdolled 35-9? I think in this day and age of college football, man, in a 12-team format, you got to, I think, in some way, shape, or form, take into account momentum if all things are going to be equal, and there's not a definitive, keyword definitive, head-to-head game there. South Carolina's got 3 ranked wins, I believe. I think they have all 3 of their losses against ranked opponents. 2 of those are by 1 score. One of those 1-score losses is to LSU in a game in which their best player, their quarterback, Lawrence Stellers, did not even really play all that much in the second half. South Carolina, if you got them in the dance, would be a problem. Mark my words. At number 9, we got SMU. Not a lot to argue with here. They're lost 1 game. It was September 6th on a Friday night to BYU. They're the best team in the ACC. Kevin Jennings is a dude. If they win the ACC, they'll make this college football playoff picture a lot more neat for everyone. But if they don't win the ACC, if they lose to Clemson, SMU, I still believe, would get an at-large bid. They've put together that strong of a resume at this point in the year. At number 8, I got Indiana. What do you say? They got 1 blemish on the resume. It was to the most talented roster in college football. I don't think less of Indiana after Ohio State's loss to Michigan. I don't. Maybe you say that the loss doesn't age as well because you would like to see Ohio State win the Big Ten and say, hey, we only have 1 loss to the Big Ten champ. Yeah, totally hear that. But still, I think that what Indiana has done this year, for a large part of the year, having the number 1 margin of victory in all of the sport, pretty solid. Indiana at number 8. At number 7, I got Tennessee. Tennessee is one of the most interesting teams in this whole 12-team dance. They've already locked up a spot, in my opinion. The thing with Tennessee is so much of it, to me, will have to do with who they draw and where they play them. Because if Tennessee plays a non-SEC team, they get them in Neyland. One, Neyland in itself is a bit of a situation to have to deal with. Second, what I just said, non-SEC, so you're not familiar with the Josh Heupel scheme, have to adjust to that. I think that's a lot more difficult to get acclimated to than we're giving credit for. Also, if Nico Iamaleava gets dialed in, man, if you could tell me Nico Iamaleava is going to be good for 2 deep bombs a game, Tennessee is going to be right in that mix to win a national championship. Everything else is there. I don't question the defense. I don't question Dylan Sampson. I don't question Josh Heupel. There's not a lot of question marks. The biggest variable is your quarterback. Got to grow up in a hurry, but they got the juice there when you talk about Tennessee. And number 6, I got Georgia. We spoke about them already on this channel. They're kind of like that ice cream machine in the back of McDonald's. Sometimes it's rolling and vibes are tremendous and everyone's got an ice cream cone. You're running around in the playground if you're a kid with the ice cream cone. Vibes are great. There's been multiple times now where the ice cream machine has not been working. It's a weird way to tell you that I think Georgia has national title pieces. They've just been so inconsistent, which is a tough thing to get a gauge for. Like, you're happy you beat Georgia Tech. You're confused it took 8 overtimes. You know what I'm saying? So you also look at the Tennessee game, the Texas game. When they're humming, they're humming. But right now, Georgia, I think it's fair to put them in the college football playoff pretty firmly. Where they land will obviously have a lot to do with if they beat Texas next week in the SEC title game. At number 5, I got Ohio State. They're still, I think, the best roster in college football, even with 2 losses. The Oregon game is tricky because you lost by 1 point and you were really in position to have a chance to go win that game. The Michigan game, while it matters and should be taken into account, it should also, I think, be taken a little bit with a grain of salt. Caden Smith and I were talking before this segment, like, Ohio State, for better or worse, has a Michigan problem. Now, that's not okay. It's not excusable, especially not for the folks in Columbus. It also doesn't sink your chances of winning a national championship. Now, they have to win a national championship. Make no mistake about it. Ryan Day would tell you that. Everyone in Columbus would tell you that. Ohio State, to me, it's hard for me to put them a lot lower than 5 based on their body of work this season. All right? Potentially a Big Ten champion, going to compete for the Big Ten championship next week at 4, Penn State. Again, Penn State, I mean, just slowly but surely kind of just chipping away. Now, the game against Ohio State at home probably makes you a little bit nervous because that game could have gotten a little bit more lopsided than what that final score indicated. It's going to be about, does the offense have the chops to go win you some games in the college football playoff? Can Andy Koltenek get in the bag? Can Drew Aller get cooking a little bit? Can they catch some momentum to go beat some of these teams they're going to have to face? Because that's the big issue for me. Like, I like the defense. I like James Franklin, contrary to what some people would say. I don't know if I trust the offense just yet. But to this point in the year, with 1 loss, and by nature of them playing for a Big Ten title next week, Penn State at 4. At number 3, a big mover for us, Notre Dame. We spoke about Indiana for the majority of the year having the number 1 margin of victory in the college football. Right now, that's Notre Dame. Notre Dame, the NIU loss is a blemish and a half on their resume. That was week 2. So, like, if we're going to talk about momentum and who teams are right now, Notre Dame is playing like one of the best teams in college football. Absolutely beat the doors in on USC yesterday. They got a win at A&M in week 1, if we want to talk about that. They also beat Louisville when they were ranked. I mean, they've beaten 2 ranked service academies, and I think that deserves at least maybe a little bit of attention. You say, the service academies. Yeah, again, top 25 teams in all of college football. Deserve some attention. Riley Leonard seems to be slowly but surely becoming more comfortable. Defense is one of the best secondaries, if not statistically the best secondary in all of college football. So, I mean, Notre Dame, man, make the jokes you want to about NIU. Make sure you get those out right now. I'd be very, very hesitant to sign up to play them that first round of the college football playoff. Notre Dame at 3. At number 2, we got Texas. Nothing gimmicky about them, man. They do good football team things up front. That's going to travel. They've been playing, I think, with the lights off for the better part of the last few weeks. Quinn Ewers looked like he was a little bit more lights on in that game against A&M, but still, man, just because those lights are dim at the quarterback position, what happens when they turn the volume up? It happens when those lights are once again bright. And you have a quarterback who's wheeling and dealing like we've seen Quinn Ewers do at certain times. Texas is going to be a force, and I cannot wait to see what they look like in the rematch against Georgia. I have to believe they don't give up 7 sacks for the second game in a row against the Bulldogs. Just my 2 cents. Number 1, you got Oregon. What are you going to say? Undefeated, ran the gauntlet, beat Ohio State. Not a lot to unpack, man. Dan Lanning, similar to the Kirby Smart and Nick Saban tree he comes from, his Ducks are consistent. They have not had a letdown to the point of them having a loss this season. The Wisconsin game is the closest thing you could look at. But again, that was on the road. That was after, 8 conference games in a row. Oregon's going to be a force now. They're going to be a force. I cannot wait to watch them against Penn State. That'll give us a really good gauge for how far they've progressed since the Ohio State game. Because we've seen them margin of victory-wise, outside of Wisconsin, continue to keep it rolling. I'm curious when they step back under the heavy bar and play a good Big Ten team, what they look like. But Oregon, undisputed, number 1 team in our playoff picture rankings and in college football. So let's get back to this here. To recap it, the number 12 team in college football for us, and who will be your G5 champion if chalk were to hold, is Boise State. I think they will have a first-round bye in the college football playoff based on what the committee says, but in our playoff picture rankings, got them at 12. At number 11, I got Arizona State. Again, very curious to see how far they would get moved up if they win the Big 12. In our rankings, I think they are a better team straight up than Boise State. Don't know if they're going to buy, but Arizona State, get them in the dance, man. I wouldn't want to tackle Cam Scadaboo in round 1. The committee, I don't have a ton of faith will do this. I hope they do this. South Carolina is the number 10 team for us. If an at-large spot opens up and SMU wins the ACC, I think the committee would put Bama here. But again, we'll take South Carolina. We'll die on that hill, using our eyeballs, trusting the eye test, think they are one of the 10 best teams in college football. At number 9 would be SMU. At 8, you got Indiana. At 7, you got Tennessee. At number 6, you got Georgia. When that switch is on the ice cream machine, they are very, very good. Will they keep it on for a college football playoff run? Remains to be seen. Ohio State at 5, I'm not super down on them. They lost to Michigan, but still, I wouldn't want to play them that first round of the college football playoff either. Penn State at 4, Notre Dame at 3, Texas at 2, and the Oregon Ducks, your number 1 team in our playoff picture rankings after the regular season. A lot to unpack, a lot to sort out here over the course of the next couple of weeks. Don't go anywhere, man. Make sure you subscribe. We're talking about this all the way through the finish right here on this show, The Hard Count. Appreciate y'all. Love y'all. Going to keep this party rolling, and we will see y'all next time.